Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining the To Hell and Back podcast, starring me, Nathaniel Whitto, as your host. And tonight we've got Will and Mark on, and we're proudly sponsored by 6 Yards Out and Pearson's Bar. And I think the intro has actually worked today. We've had technical difficulties the last few weeks, but I think it's worked very well. So, Mark, you're from the Hull City Supporters Trust, and I believe we've got some sort of book thing, or Dean Windass has got a book out, and there's going to be an event at our sponsor, Old Zoological Bar. So, Mark, do you want to talk to us about that for a little bit?
Yeah, that's correct. Obviously, Dean's got a new book out, so we're having a book signing at the Old Zoological, or used to be Pearson's, on the 4th of March, starting at 12 o'clock. So, yeah, we've got a link, I think, if anybody wants to come along, get a book ordered before you come and get it signed.
Marvellous. Well, yes, of course, we are going to be talking a little bit about Bristol City and our game that's coming up against him. Of course, Windass is probably the most famous moment for Hull coming against Bristol. It's probably a good time for him to have a book coming out. And I think we've killed two birds with one stone there. That the Supporters Trust having an event with Windass, and of course we get to mention the sponsor again. So that's just lovely. So Will, how are you feeling? Because we just mentioned before the podcast, I've sort of jinxed it a little bit. The last episode or 2 episodes ago, I said I don't want Hull to have any more boring 0-0s, and then 2 of the 3 games since then have been scoreless draws. So how has it been this last week or so?
Annoyed because you keep doing this.
Well, I keep jinxing it, or Hull keep doing it.
I'm blaming it solely on you.
Well, absolutely. It must be that we're so popular that the players listen to the show and then think, I'll just despite him. I'll just despite Whitto. We'll just drop some stinkers. But Mark, what about you? How have you seen the season so far and Liam Rossini's reign?
I've been impressed with Liam. I think he's done quite a good job since he's come in. The team have looked a lot better. Roller coaster at the beginning of the season. I did enjoy some of the few home games at the beginning, but the team will look a lot more solid. But we've missed Seri and we've missed Connolly, I'm afraid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big style.
Well, they're both out for a month. Connolly, I think, missed the previous game against Norwich, and then again against Preston, and then Seri was injured for the Preston game. And then, of course, the usual person to come in for him, Ryan Woods, he's also injured for a month. So I think 2 of those will be big misses. And because of Seri being injured, Woods being injured is also a big miss. We'll get all on to that in a fair second. But so another 0-0 against Preston. I think we were hoping for a better result, even though perhaps it was going to be quite tight. Will, of course, you're at the game. How did you see the game going, really? And were you disappointed with the result?
A bit of both. Was disappointment and not too disappointed, because first half we should have been out of sight, should have smashed it. But we didn't. But that was typical of City in recent times, just not taking the chances they're given. But second half, Preston came back into it, probably had some decent opportunities to get a goal themselves. And I think on the balance of the whole 90 minutes, the draw was maybe about right, but it was a missed opportunity, definitely, for City. And they didn't, even though we had a couple of chances to go in front, they didn't offer massive amounts overall, City. And especially that second half, it was very concerning how it kind of petered out.
Yeah, it did a bit.
Also, the ref didn't help.
Well, yes, one of the things I've got written down here, I don't know his name, but I know that this was his first ever championship match.
Sam Ellison, I believe it is.
That sounds right. And absolutely dreadful. I've not watched every whole game this season, but when I have watched them, I don't remember the referee being really terrible. But I don't usually like to point it out, and I don't necessarily think that it hindered Hull's performance at all, or the result, but he was just really shocking. It just seemed like every decision he made was wrong. Mark, were you at the game? And if so,
I certainly was. I didn't rate him. I thought, I thought the ref had a poor game. Did he get the penalty decision right? I'd probably say yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I did think
I've not seen it back, so I don't know. I was livid at the time that it wasn't given, but Will, you thought it wasn't a penalty for Toothless?
No, I didn't think it was a penalty. No. The thing that I thought was wrong was it wasn't necessarily his performance overall. I think it was just so stop-start.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It was just like he just didn't let on either side. He didn't really let anything breathe, which I think really ruined it.
Yeah, I mean, not on FIFA. One of the classic commentaries is that referees been really good at giving advantage, and I don't think they did that very well on Saturday. Well, Mark, what about you? Were you disappointed with the result? Did you expect City to play better against a team that is right next to us in the table?
I thought it could be a game that could end up a draw. I did think that. Both similar position in the league. Preston do defend well, and so do we. So kind of had that writing on the wall, maybe. But I think if we just didn't take our chances early on, and then there was a lot of crosses that were going wayward. A lot of crosses.
Yeah, and probably a bit too far to the back post. I mean, we brought Tete on, but then we also brought Oscar off. So perhaps with two big strikers in the box, we would have been able to get on the end of one of those. But I don't know about that substitution. I think having Oscar on the pitch is always a good thing. But then I guess he didn't play very well with quite limited service. Speaking of crosses into the box, that a question Rossini had to answer in his press conference recently was that we had 11 corners and apparently the delivery was quite poor, but I mean, I was watching it. I know Pelkas, the first corner was woeful, like went out for a throw-in, I think. But then I thought the rest of them were pretty decent. Jones had a decent chance. So, I mean, I still think we're missing that sort of the traditional set piece taker who we know is going to take it, like we had Honeyman and Elder, because we've had Seri and Tufan and Slater and Elder and Pelkas, just lots of them. Do you think the reason why we're not scoring as many set pieces this season, Will, is because we have that, too much difference in who's taking it?
It's not necessarily about who's taking it, because I mean, in theory, any professional footballer should be able to put a cross in if that's what they're training on all week. But I think our set piece taking is very, very mixed. Sometimes it can be decent, and sometimes it can be absolutely abysmal.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Especially Tufan. I don't think Tufan's good at them at all.
The amount of times it would never beat the first man just infuriates me. I would rather it go long than beat the first man.
Because at least if it goes long, you might be able to get onto it the other side and cross it back in. Whereas if it's short, it's so disappointing. I guess the thing is, just about above the first man's probably the best spot to put one. And that's where they're aiming, and then they never.
That's the thing. If it was so poor at hitting past the first man, why don't we put anyone on the nearer post?
Yeah, just flick it on. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. But Mark, I agree with what you said that it probably could end in a draw. I mean, I said 1-0, but I knew it was going to be a fairly tight game. I mean, Preston, of course, are in a sort of competition with Haaland with how many goals they score. They're not a particularly exciting attacking flowing side. I think Preston are winning that battle now, and of course we've had 3 of the last 4 games have been clean sheets and 7 of the last 15 under the senior. That's definitely something to appreciate. And looking back at it now, of course I would have been happy if we'd scored just 1 against Stoke and Preston and got the wins. But the senior has made us a more solid team, and if we are keeping clean sheets, we are going to pick up a lot of points going forward, just not quite as exciting. So I think because of the dropped points in the last 3 games, I know, Will, you've said that the playoffs was never on, but Mark, were you ever hopeful that we could just squeeze into the playoffs with Rossini, perhaps after the back-to-back wins against QPR and Cardiff?
Yeah, I think when we got them back-to-back wins, it's in the back of your mind. Yeah, we can do this, but yeah, you need to keep them. You need to keep the wins coming, I'm afraid, and we aren't doing that. I mean, if I have to say anything about Preston, I thought they defended really well on Saturday.
Yeah,
Give them the due. they defended well, and they put some good tackles in when needed. So,
yeah, both teams defended well.
I think we can go down to Bristol and beat them, but I think we're missing 2 key players. So,
yeah,
I think
playing
makes us an average.
They're missing Atkinson in the defence as well, who's been a key man for them, which hopefully cancels our short givings.
Hopefully, yeah. But then, of course, we say that Seri missing him is a big thing, but Javier Simons came in for his first league start. Apparently, we've signed him on a permanent deal or agreed to do that in the summer. And I think that's probably a good bit of business. And I thought that before, when it was touted in January, I thought it was going to be a good deal for us. But then he was voted man of the match against Preston, and coming in to fulfill that role.
I thought he played well.
Yeah. So what exactly did he bring to the side, Mark?
I just think he's a good footballer. I do think he's a good footballer. He's not a Seri type player, but yeah, he seems to sit further back. Yeah, I like him. He seems an intelligent player. So yeah,
exactly.
He's got a good career ahead of him. So
I thought he knitted things together nicely. I didn't see him create a huge amount of chances like I know Seri can, but we've got Tufan and Pelkas and these other players who I don't think played hugely well. We were winning the ball quite high up the pitch, and that's where we were creating our chances from. But really, unless of course you are Seri, you've got that amazing passing ability that we've seen. If you are a Woods or a Simons, you just need to give the ball forward to the attacking players and let them, come up with something special. And didn't really happen on Saturday. I guess the biggest chance was Oscar, and I don't know why I'm going to do this, but I'm just going to slate him a tiny little bit. I remember someone saying that at Huddersfield away when he blazed one over the bar by a mile, which he did, I think, once or twice against Preston. He's a fantastic player in the 6-yard box and the penalty box, but if he ever has a shot outside the box, it's going to the stand, which is a shame. But I guess because he's so good at one thing, you can't expect him to be an all-round player. But again, as we were mentioning weeks ago, before he had another sort of run of goals, he does score in runs, and sometimes he really doesn't get the service. And I think if we can just unlock him a bit more, he's our top goal scorer, but we need to see a little bit more out of him. But how do we do that, Mark?
I was quite surprised that he didn't start Teta from the beginning, play him on the left. I'd have played that because I think he plays well with him. I'm really surprised he didn't give Teta a go, starting, play him on the left.
Yeah, I do think we have seen perhaps the best of him in a front two already in the season when Tete was essentially playing up front but was on the wing. Of course, seeing him and Connolly mix up and link up, I think that's when we've seen the best of Oscar. But who would be best to come into that sort of second striker role, if not Tete will?
So, like behind Oscar, would you say then?
Yeah.
I'd argue maybe Tufan, to be honest. If everything behind the striker.
Yeah, I think him or Pelkas there would work quite well in the number 10 role, but they seem to be being played out wide a lot recently. Just really hope that Ebiway, who came on and didn't do a huge amount, but he went past some players quite well. Hopefully we see...
He's not fully fit, is he? So
no,
I'm not surprised. He's getting back into the swing of things, isn't he?
Exactly, yeah. But I think Tete, Pelkas, Tufan, some of these players, Ebiway would have played against Manchester City's development squad. That's who we had a friendly against on Tuesday, and according to the whole Daily Mail, we won 4-0. So hopefully some of those players maybe got involved in a competitive game. It's not quite the same as a league match.
I was going to say, if it was beating Man City 4-0, I'd have paired my ears up at that one. Absolutely, yeah. I guess Figueiredo keeping a clean sheet even against academy players is quite impressive. So we've got to give him props for that, because I think he played. Enchep says played Man City this week. Hopefully minutes in the tank for players, because that's something we've so struggled with this season. It's fitness.
We've just had a slight good run of form, and then Seri, Connolly and Woods all out for a month. But there is one really good news story, that Adama Traore is going to be in the squad for Bristol City. Of course, none of us have seen him play for Hull, at least, because he's never played. He's been out for, I think, a year and a month since he played football. 386 days, I think I saw. So, I mean, we really don't know how good he's going to be. But, Will, could he be, like that cliche that I like to say, could he be like a new signing?
Well, yeah, it could be like a new signing because he's never played for us before.
He is a new signing, exactly. But he'll give a bit of
interest. He's promising because obviously it's only the it's under 21s, but he looked all right in the under 21 games that he's played. Mm-hmm. And he's been building his fitness up. And like you said, midweek, that game for Man City development, that was, as Rosina himself said in the press conference, was pretty much for fitness, getting players more match time. As long as they're able to, as long as that's actually really helped, I'd be interested to see what he's like. Obviously, he'll be off the bench if he does come on. Mm-hmm. But hopefully, it's a good sign. And I think, isn't Vaughan Kervil back soon as well?
Oh, I don't know about that. But with all the options we've got, I don't know whether he'll play a whole amount. I feel like that was just a real sort of last option because there were so many injuries. He did fairly well, though, early in the season. But
is he a Seri type player, or is he more an attacking midfielder?
No idea.
Is this Traore?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think he could be box to box. Although I was recently listening to the Football's Cliches podcast, and then I heard that box to box didn't necessarily mean what I thought it meant. Because I've always thought it meant you're good in both boxes. You go back and you defend, and then you can go forward and attack. Whereas they were talking about it being more that they don't go into the other penalty boxes. They're just in between. They're from box to the other box. And I guess it's pretty similar, but Will, what's your definition of box-to-box midfielder?
I don't read the definition. I just like using the cliche.
Yeah, fair enough. Another thing that has seen a lot of debate online recently about the goalkeeper situation at Hull. And Ingram, he's kept another clean sheet. I assume I know what your answer is going to be, but I suppose, are you surprised that Carl Darlow hasn't come in, Mark?
Has he gone back to Newcastle? Does anybody know?
No, he's staying with us.
He's staying. I suppose if you keep us keeping clean sheets, why would you drop him?
Yeah,
I think that'd be unfair to him. I mean, to be fair though, Preston didn't have a shot on target on Saturday.
It's true.
No. So, I mean, I would have kept a clean sheet in goal, I guess.
You have to imagine. To imagine at some point he's going to play Darlow. It's just a matter of when rather than if. But at the same time, you can't justify dropping Ingram because he's done nothing wrong.
Absolutely. I mean, he did nothing well on Saturday if he didn't make a save. I think the main story is just it's unfortunate for Darlow that he's coming to a club where
and he probably would have played a cup final,
and he thinks he's going to play a lot of games, and then of course Newcastle get to the cup final, and with the insane red card that some people have tried to defend. I mean, Pope's basically picked the ball up 15 yards outside his box. Completely ridiculous. It's just a shame that he wouldn't play for the in the League Cup. But I mean, Mark, just last little bit about Preston. What exactly do you think we need to improve on? Obviously, it's putting the ball in the back of the net, I guess. But how do you think we should approach the next game to get more out of these attacking players?
I think in the whole we did play all right, but I just think it's that decision making in the last third of the pitch that let us down on Saturday.
Yeah,
definitely. Sat where I'm sat in the E3, there was a couple of passes that just went right across the face of the goal. All it had to do was someone to put it in. It was, and the ball was played behind them. So yeah, real strange. Yeah, there's just some real strange decision making on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that because it seemed a few times we'd won the ball in their half, and I think Pelkas had a great chance where it could have been slid across to him because he had an open net, and it just didn't work quite out the way we wanted it to. So hopefully we do get a little bit of luck, because I think sometimes you do need that. I mean, when we got that crucial first goal against QPR that started that 2-game run, it was a deflection that Connolly got the first goal. So I guess that little bit of luck, and then hopefully we can go into this Bristol game and get a few goals. So can anyone tell me the last time we won away at Bristol? Same as Stoke and Norwich, it was a long time ago.
It was a while ago.
That's correct. Mark, can you be more specific?
I'm probably going to go for about 5 years ago.
Well, that is actually completely 100% correct, pretty much, because the last time we beat them, or almost correct, was 2016 in the League Cup. But in the league, we actually last won in Bristol 11 years ago in 2012, or October 2012, so 11 seasons ago. 2-1 win. I think Aluko scored. A really great goal, passing 1-2 with Corrin.
One of the rare occasions we won on Sky.
Yes, exactly. I remember. We actually won on Sky, and hopefully we do that in a few weeks' time against West Brom and Burnley. I mean, with the form those teams are in and the fact it's on Sky, I doubt we're going to beat Burnley, especially on Sky, but you never know. Maybe that would break the hoodoo. But yeah, Alex rightly says 2012. I don't know whether that was before or after I said it on the show, so I'm not going to give him any credit. Also, happy birthday to Alex Lancaster. So, he asked to be remembered to us. It's an odd phrase I've used it, but
I'm sure everyone on listening is delighted.
Delighted, yeah, absolutely. Well, good to hear. So, of course, Nigel Pearson is at Bristol. Mark, what were your views on Nigel Pearson's time at City? Because I don't really remember it. I'm so young.
Boring. About sums it up, I think. No, I, to be fair, he didn't do a really bad job. I don't think he did bring some good players in. Yeah, I think it didn't work out for him, really, did it? So,
I mean, you say it didn't work out. He happily just left us at the first opportunity.
Yeah. We were just a stepping stone.
And then he came back a couple of weeks later with his new team, and Corrin smashed it in the last minute, which was delightful.
Yeah, but Barnby was the manager then as well, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah, I think they'd fallen out as well, hadn't they?
They had.
I think Pearson does that a fair bit. I think Mousinho spoke very well of him, but I think Pearson's...
For me, Pearson, he's understandably. I understand why people don't like him, because, like I say, he's very boring, he gets very confrontational, but whenever he gets questioned about anything,
yeah, he doesn't like
yeah.
But he built an alright side from where, considering when he came in, we were financially in ruin pretty much, and he built a decent side with not much money spent at all. And that was a nice step building blocks for what Bruce then went and did a couple of seasons later.
Yeah, well, of course, he signed current manager Liam Mousinho, so we can thank him for that, because we've got a good manager out of it, 10 years later. So we lost 5-0 at Bristol last season. Former Tiger Chris Martin, who we made him look very good. They do have some quality players. Is it Alex Scott? And but not the pundit, and then Vyman. He's a very good player. They're 8 unbeaten in the league, 2 draws in the last game. Can anyone else tell me who was the last player to score at Bristol City? Because it obviously wasn't last season. It's quite a difficult one, this, I think.
I think it was now.
Well, the clue is that it was just before we got relegated in the COVID season. It was a honeymoon free kick. It was a honeymoon free kick whipped into someone who scored the header. I mean, I don't know why you'd know it, but just have a guess.
No idea.
Yeah, centre half.
Jordy Device.
Exactly. Got us back into the game, I think.
Fudge kissing weasel.
Yeah, so a fair few snakes we've mentioned, Pearson and Device as well. And I don't know whether Device is a snake, but he's certainly a weasel. So, and then of course we had a 5-5 draw.
I was going to say that's
really
the only game I can ever think of in recent times at Ashton Gate. 5-5.
So a 5-0 loss and a 5-5 draw there recently. Hopefully we score 5 unanswered goals on Saturday, but as I said, I don't know whether we're really flowing at the top end of the pitch. But Mark, how do you see this game going? You said hopefully that we can get the 3 points, but do you think that's likely?
Looking at the form of our team and Bristol, I'd probably say we're going to end in a draw.
5-5 draw? Probably unlikely. They are 15th, just 1 point below us. So again, we are in a current run where we're playing all the teams around us, because it's West Brom and Coventry, or maybe just above us after this. So I think another draw is probably something. But Will, what about you? Do you think perhaps we could get back to winning ways?
Well, Bristol are the most run-of-the-middle team in this league this season. After 32 games, I think they've won 10, drawn 11, lost 11. So right down the middle. So straight away, they'll probably win and make it 11-all. And their goal differences +1. So they've scored as many as they've conceded near enough. They're just perfectly level.
Us beating them 1-0 would really even it out then.
It would, but also we're above them in the table. Like I said, they've been on a good run of form in terms of not losing, but
also have we. So probably another draw, to be honest.
Yeah.
I hope it isn't another draw. We've had so many of those recently.
I'm going to predict, as I always do, 3-0 City.
3-0 City, City. Cool. But and Mark, what about you? What's your prediction going into this? And are there any major changes you'd make to the lineup to get that win?
I'd love us to win 2-1 if I'm bluntly honest. But
I'd love us to win 3-0 even more.
But looking at the way we played on Saturday, just need to be a bit more clinical in front of goal. And major changes, well, I'd start Teta maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a go.
I think that's probably fair. I might start Ebiway just to get those crosses into Tete and Oscar, so maybe 4-4-2 with him. I mean, I can't even really remember what the lineup was. It was a fair few changes. I got used to the one where we were playing against QPR and Stoke and Cardiff. I got used to that one. So I haven't got room in my memory to look up any lineups. But here is the most exciting part of the podcast. Sorry, viewers, you're not going to be able to see Mark, but this is the combined lineup I've made of Hull against Bristol.
Again, so, audio fans delighted in this one.
Well, I read it out for audio fans. So we've got Matt Ingram in goal, Pring, whoever that is, left back. He's got 4 assists for Bristol City.
You made this.
So I can't remember his first name, but I know Pring has got 4 assists and he's a good left back. Got McLaughlin, Jones, and Christie. I mean, Maka and Jones have been absolutely stupendous recently with all those clean sheets, so they've got to be in there. Got Scott, left wing, who's one of the starlets for Bristol. Williams, again, I think it's Joe Williams, who's pretty high rated. Slater, but no Seri, of course, he's injured. Andy Vyman, who's a very good player, scored about 20 goals last season. And up front, it's Naki Wells, who scored an equaliser at Sunderland. Will is having a meltdown, and then Oscar completes the lineup. So, I mean, he can. If you are an audio listener and you can remember that lineup, tell me in the comments what do you think of it. But Mark, I don't know what your knowledge of Bristol City is like, but is it rubbish or is it good?
Bristol City.
This lineup.
Well, I don't know too much about the Bristol City.
Cool.
Players, but
so please say yes.
That's a great lineup.
Thank you.
It's the first positive review you've had on this segment.
Yeah, it certainly is. But I think because these are so exciting, actually, I think it's time to look at a completely different lineup that I made. This one I didn't make, but it's just the lineup we last played against Bristol at the start of the season. So I just wanted to show you, how far we've come A fair few of these players would play for us at the moment, but 3-5-2 is the main difference here. And then, Aliar's in here. He wouldn't play. Smith's now in Oxford. Got Louis Cole, the club captain, who's barely played the last few games where Christie's really come to form. And I think that the major difference between this and any lineup we would be playing recently is that Figs is actually playing. He would not play. He's nowhere near the team at the moment. Go on, Will.
Wait a minute. You're saying Coyle was going to play right wing back?
Yeah.
You're saying he's playing that attacking?
Oh, look, that's a 3-5-2, okay, but you can't actually move the players on the.
He was going to fold them in the midfield.
Well, yeah, but that's just how it looks. I didn't do that, but he is a right wing back. He's not a right winger or anything like that. So, yeah. Maybe I should get some better software for this. I'm sure it's all popping off in the comments at the moment. Alex Lancaster says, "Oh no," and then Nchep says he doesn't even know the player he's put into a combined 11. And then Alex again, it might as well be a can of Pringles in terms of Witto's knowledge. So I've wished you a happy birthday in front of all the other fans, and that's the abuse I get from Alex. So. I won't be reading out any more comments from him today, but what else is there to say about Bristol City? Because, we beat them in the playoff final.
Yeah, you right there.
A repeat of that would be lovely, but I think with the fact 2 of our previous 3 games have been 0-0, Bristol are just below us in the table. We're defensively very good, and Bristol are picking a lot of draws. I think I might just be boring and predict another 0-0 draw. I really hope that isn't the case, but maybe if it's reverse psychology. I'm predicting 0-0, so it will be another 5-all goal fest, which I think would be quite pleasant for all the people travelling all that way. Mark, do you have anything else to mention about Hull and Bristol at the moment?
Say that again.
Well, are you looking forward to it? Are you thinking that Hull can get back to winning ways? And I think we've got an opportunity to do that.
I've always got to remain hopeful.
Yeah,
you've got to remain. Still looking at the league, you're still not far off the playoffs. It's crazy. Put 3 or 4 games together, and you're there.
Absolutely, I think the opportunity
at the moment. So that's the crazy thing about the league at the moment. Nobody seems to want it.
That's a good point. Middlesbrough are really going for it. I think maybe.
If Borough catch up Sheffield United, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be a very exciting thing. But just probably Sheffield United would get promoted to the playoffs, which would be kind of boring. I don't like any of these parachute payment clubs.
If Sheffield United dropped out of the top 2 of the way that they are, if they do, they're winning the playoffs.
I'd like Luton to go up. That'd be good. If we don't go up, I think Luton, right? Maybe Millwall. Just someone to sort of annoy the Premier League.
Millwall would be funny because it'd annoy the Premier League. The Premier League would hate that.
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? And no one would enjoy going there. But of course, there's about like a 1% chance, I think, that we could get into playoffs based on some supercomputer somewhere. We do have a chance to pick up a few wins in a row, hopefully, because we are playing some teams in and around us. But I think another point wouldn't be the worst result. So if we don't have anything else to mention, I think we'll just, look ahead to the Bristol game. Hopefully we get at least a point, continue some, strong, solid form under the senior, and then we push on when we get some home games under the MKM lights with West Brom and then Coventry, and then it'll be Burnley, which is an exciting game to test us against a good team. So, Mark, thanks very much for coming on. Mark, you're from the Hull City Supporters Trust. Is there any lovely message you'd like to send to people about what you do there, or not?
I'd just like to thank everybody that's contributed to our fund that we set up at the GoFundMe towards Turkey. Anybody that's contributed to that, can still contribute. I think we've raised over £10,000 already. So thanks to anybody that's contributed to that. And we're hopefully going to hold something to celebrate the 15 years since we got promoted to the Premier League. So
15 years.
So Nathaniel wasn't even born then.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was born, but I was still, nappies at that point, pretty much. Yeah.
And I think the trust are doing a lot of stuff in the background with the club and that. So yeah, there's a lot of good things coming out of it at the moment. So with the FSA, so yeah, good things, good things.
Well, that would be a lovely thing to end on, but Ian Templeman has just commented, as well as Enshep, anything about the Dundalk. I think I pronounced that correctly. So Hull have been linked to buying another club, or Agen's been linked to buying another club, Dundalk, from Ireland. So I think it shows ambition from the owners that maybe they want to buy another club to send some young players out on loan to. That's what some bigger clubs are doing.
It's that, and I think they want a club in Europe that isn't affected by what we get here with Brexit, so they can get players involved in the squad easier from abroad.
Ah, yeah. So maybe Chelly, is it? The Peruvian star could go over there on loan, perhaps, and then come and play for us.
Personally, I'm very disappointed we're not trying to bring in Craigie Island FC, personally.
What's that?
I knew a Father Ted reference would go over your bloody head.
Yeah. 5 or 10? What's that? Yeah, I don't even know what you're referencing, let alone understanding the reference. Mark, do you know what Will's talking about?
No.
No, but do you think
I'm the only one here who's seen Father Ted. Oh my God!
Oh, Father Ted. I've heard of that. I've heard of that. But Mark, do you think that this could be quite an interesting development?
Yes, I think it could. Yeah, he's using the European route. Obviously, I think like what you've said, to get players in easier, to get the European passport. I guess there must be some kind of something to do with that.
I think it's easier through Ireland to do it because of the connection with the UK.
Well, that's good, astute observation, Will.
There is a lot of young Irish talent about as well, so maybe they're looking at something to do with that as well, I should imagine.
Yeah, well, of course, we've got a good Irish contingent, always have, with lots of players. So I guess having some more Irish players develop from Dundalk perhaps could come into us. Maybe they'll become like our, Salzburg to Leipzig sort of link, or is it New York something for Man City? I guess I think it could be a really interesting development if it does go through. Of course, it's just a sort of rumor at the moment. I think we've seen it confirmed, and various people have said it's happening. It's trying to happen, but I guess that's another thing to look out for, along with the Walton Street development that's been talked about. So lots of exciting things to discuss with off the field matters. We'll be back next week, probably after another 0-0. We're going to have to keep coming up with stupid combined lineups just to fill the time at this rate, if there's not going to be another goal to talk about soon. But thanks very much again to everyone who's commented and listening. We really appreciate it, and we hope you've had an enjoyable time listening to us and may ramble on an awful lot tonight. So thanks again, and we'll see you all again next week.